Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade. Great to be here with you guys today as the players are popping bottles, as they're dancing in the club, shaking their booty out unrivaled, whatever the players are doing. The players receive a phone call from the owners, and it is urgent. Come now. Sign into Zoom, and we'll talk about it.
Picture this moment. You're celebrating the biggest financial win in WNBA history. First time ever getting revenue-sharing checks, dancing in clubs, popping bottles, living your best life. Then your phone rings. It's the owners. They need you on Zoom, right now. That whiplash from celebration to crisis? That's exactly what happened to WNBA players this week. And the 2-week ultimatum they just received might blow up everything Caitlin Clark built for this league.
And then Adam Silver steps into the Zoom call. You guys got 2 weeks to figure this shit out. Peace. The range of emotions that the players must have went through yesterday, nothing short of spectacular. From being on cloud nine, dancing on the moon, to 2 weeks, you said? 2 weeks? Oh, you guys are actually going to give us a deadline. Oh, you guys are tired of us playing games with you. All right. The WNBA sets a deadline.
March 10th. That's the hard deadline the WNBA just handed down. Get a collective bargaining agreement done by then, or the May 8th season start gets pushed back. Games will be delayed, the schedule collapses, and all that momentum from last season, gone. Here's what makes this deadline different from every other one they've blown through in the past year. Adam Silver himself showed up on that Zoom call. The NBA commissioner doesn't waste time on symbolic gestures. When he tells you that you've got 2 weeks to figure this out, he means the league is done negotiating in good faith while you debate whether to strike. The owners aren't bluffing anymore. They're tired of the posturing, tired of the threats, tired of watching players act like they hold all the leverage when the financial reality tells a completely different story.
Yeah, told the Players Association and its teams on Monday that a new collective bargaining agreement must be agreed to by March 10th for the 2026 schedule not to be impacted, sources told Alexa Filippo. Not only were they told this, but the players weren't happy about hearing this either. The WNBA informed the Players Association that the 2026 schedule will be impacted if the two sides do not formalize an agreement by March 10th. Players are miffed at the threat and continue to weigh whether a strike is...
Let's talk about what's actually on the table here, because the gap between what players want and what owners are offering tells you everything about who understands basic business math. The league's offer, $5.6 million per team salary cap. That's a massive increase from where they are now. Players counter over $9 million per team, plus a bigger slice of revenue sharing. The league looked at that proposal and said it would cost them hundreds of millions in losses. Now some players are calling that claim fake, cooking the books, they say. But here's what those players apparently don't know or choose to ignore. The current CBA includes a specific clause that gives the Players Association the right to audit the league's financial records. They can hire their own accountants, they can review the books themselves. The only limitation is that the audit focuses on revenue, not expenses. So if the league was lying about their finances, you'd think somebody would have caught it by now. You'd think the Players Association would have used that audit clause to call out the deception. But they haven't, because the numbers are real.
ESPN first reported the news of the league's ultimatum. The comments were made in a bargaining session on Monday. The sides met virtually as New York City was blanketed by a snowstorm. This is an article by Annie Costable. The league has been operating under, quote, status quo since the previous collective bargaining agreement expired on January 9th after several extensions. But league business has been functionally frozen under a mutually agreed moratorium as a new CBA is required for free agency and trades. Though the season is set for May 8th, the league needs time to conduct free agency, an expansion draft for 2 new teams, and the college draft.
The league needs time to execute basic operations before training camps open in mid-April. Free agency has to happen. They've got 2 expansion teams joining for the 2026 season, which means an expansion draft needs to be conducted. Then there's the college draft to integrate the incoming rookie class. None of that can happen while they're operating under a moratorium. Everything's frozen. Trades can't be processed, free agents can't sign, Teams can't plan their rosters. The entire business of running a professional basketball league is on hold because the two sides can't agree on how to split money that doesn't exist yet. That's the part that keeps getting lost in this debate. Players want to be paid based on projected growth, on potential future revenue, on what the league might become if everything goes perfectly. But owners are looking at actual balance sheets, actual operating costs, actual losses that they're covering out of their own pockets right now. And here's the thing about business owners. They don't invest in losing propositions forever. Eventually, the patience runs out.
Unrealistic and would cause hundreds of millions of dollars in losses for the league and its teams. The sides met virtually yesterday as New York City was blanketed in snow. As the players are over there enjoying their participation in rev share for the first time in history, the league said, ladies, I understand you guys are all happy, you're all partying, but let me just bring it back down to earth real quick. Let me just let y'all know, if this deal doesn't get done by March 10th, well, season's not going to start on time. These ladies might actually blow it. They might blow it. All of the hurdles that they've overcome due to Caitlin Clark, of all of the viewership that they now have, thanks to Caitlin Clark, of all of the excitement surrounding the league because of Caitlin, all of that might go bye-bye because they can't get out of their own way.
Look at the reaction from players when this deadline dropped. Not strategic analysis, not careful consideration of their options, just pure emotional response. They're miffed, according to reports, upset that the league would dare give them an ultimatum. That emotional reaction is exactly what's going to sabotage their negotiating position. Because when you respond emotionally instead of strategically, you make mistakes, you overplay your hand. You convince yourself that threatening to strike gives you leverage, when in reality, it just accelerates the timeline for owners to call your bluff. The players' ego won't let them accept that the league might actually delay the season. They'd rather be the ones to initiate a work stoppage. They'd rather strike first and claim they're standing up for themselves, instead of accepting that the owners are serious about this deadline. But think about what a strike actually accomplishes here. You're not striking against a league that's hoarding profits. You're striking against a league that's been subsidized by the NBA for its entire existence. A league that just had its first profitable season in history, thanks almost entirely to one player who isn't even part of these negotiations yet because she's still on her rookie contract.
So the players had the ability to actually check and audit the books and the records of the WNBA, such the audit just limited to the revenue. So if they were cooking the books, you'd think somebody would have noticed it by now. You'd think, not 100% sure, but you'd think somebody would have noticed it. No? Let's take a look at some reaction, shall we? This actually makes me laugh. The WNBA setting a deadline for a CBA is like a toddler setting a deadline for dessert. We all know who has the leverage here, and it's not the people in the suits. Log off and go back to the drawing board. The 2026 rookies aren't playing for exposure anymore.
The comparison that keeps coming up is about the size of the pie. Players and their supporters keep saying the pie is bigger now, so players deserve a bigger slice. But that's not how this works. That's not even close to how this works. The pie isn't bigger. The pie is more valuable. Those are two completely different concepts, and confusing them reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of business economics. Here's what actually happened. Last season, because of Caitlin Clark's impact, the WNBA generated significantly more revenue than in previous years. Ratings went up, attendance went up, sponsorship deals got bigger. The value of each dollar of revenue increased because the league's visibility increased. But the costs also went up. Charter flights for all teams, expanded rosters, increased travel expenses, better hotels. All the things players had been asking for, they got. And all of those things cost money. Real money that comes out of the league's operating budget. So yes, revenue increased, but so did expenses. The slice of the pie that players were already getting became more valuable because the overall pie became more valuable. But the actual size of their slice, the percentage they're entitled to, that's determined by the financial structure of the league. And right now, that structure still shows losses.
Are the players being compensated in proportion to that growth? Yes. Yes, they are. There really are people here that think the players have leverage. It's a little comical, actually. The Players Association are a bunch of entitled women who do not understand profit and losses in the business. Their demand for profit sharing based upon gross revenue is insane. I say let them strike and sit out and earn no money. Now, this is what people get wrong. The league's recent surge in attention changes the math. Do players deserve a bigger slice now that the pie is?
There's a question that keeps getting asked on social media, and it perfectly illustrates the disconnect here. Someone asked, would you rather have 100% of $0 or 15% of $100? The obvious answer is you take the smaller percentage of the larger amount. You take $15 over $0 every single time. That's basic math. But somehow, when it comes to this CBA negotiation, players are acting like they'd rather have a bigger percentage of nothing than a reasonable percentage of something substantial. They're so focused on the principle of getting a larger share that they're losing sight of the practical reality. A smaller percentage of a growing league is worth more than a larger percentage of a league that collapses under unsustainable financial commitments. And make no mistake, that's what's at stake here. If the players push this to a strike, if they force the season to be delayed, if they kill the momentum that Caitlin Clark built, they're not going to get a better deal on the other side of that work stoppage. They're going to get a worse one. Because the owners will have watched them destroy the league's growth trajectory over ego and principle, and those owners are going to respond accordingly.
It holds more value. Therefore, it's worth more money. I don't know if Natasha Cloud understands that math either. Natasha Cloud, would you rather have 100% of $0 or 15% of $100? Well, in that case, I would take the less percentage because it's more valuable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I appreciate all of the support. Like the video and subscribe. That would mean so much to me.
Here's what makes this entire situation so frustrating to watch. The WNBA just had the best season in its history. Record ratings across the board. Caitlin Clark's games were pulling 3 million viewers on network television. Playoff games were selling out arenas. The league was finally breaking through to mainstream consciousness. All of that progress, all of that momentum, all of that cultural relevance that players have been begging for since the league started in 1997, it's finally here. And now there's a real possibility that they're going to blow it. Not because the owners are being unreasonable, not because the financial offer is insulting, but because the players can't get out of their own way. They can't accept that sometimes you take the win that's in front of you instead of holding out for the perfect deal. They can't accept that leverage isn't determined by how passionately you believe in your position. It's determined by who has more to lose if negotiations fail. And right now, the players have way more to lose. The owners have other businesses, other investments, other ways to make money. The WNBA is a passion project for most of them, not their primary source of income. But for the players, this is their career. This is their window to maximize earnings in a profession where the average career length is less than 4 years. Every game they miss is money they'll never get back. Every week the season is delayed is a week closer to the end of their prime earning years. That's leverage. And the owners know it. That's why they're comfortable setting a hard deadline. That's why Adam Silver showed up on that Zoom call to deliver the message personally. They're calling the players bluff, and they're doing it because they know the math works in their favor. So what happens next? The players have 2 weeks to decide if they're serious about striking or if they're going to accept the best offer they're likely to get. 2 weeks to figure out if their ego is worth more than their paycheck. 2 weeks to determine whether they want to be remembered as the generation that finally broke through to mainstream success or the generation that destroyed the league's momentum over a contract dispute. My prediction? They'll come back to the table. They'll negotiate some minor adjustments to the league's offer. They'll claim victory on a couple of symbolic points. And then they'll sign the deal, because the alternative is too devastating to seriously consider. But the fact that we're even at this point, the fact that it took a hard deadline and an appearance by Adam Silver to force reality into these negotiations, that tells you everything you need to know about how disconnected some of these players are from the business realities of running a professional sports league. The WNBA isn't the NBA. It doesn't generate billions in revenue. It doesn't have a 50-year history of profitable operations to fall back on. It's a league that's still fighting for survival, still trying to prove it can be financially sustainable without a massive subsidy from its parent organization. And the players who seem to understand that, who recognize that building something sustainable takes time and patience and sometimes accepting less than you think you deserve, those players are going to be fine. But the ones who keep pushing for demands that the financial reality can't support, they're going to learn a hard lesson about leverage, about negotiating from a position of strength versus a position of emotion, about the difference between what you want and what you can actually get. The clock is ticking. March 10th is coming. And when that deadline hits, we're going to find out if the WNBA players are serious about building a sustainable league or if they're more interested in proving a point. Because right now, it could go either way. And that uncertainty, that possibility that they might actually blow this opportunity, is the scariest part of this entire situation. What do you think happens? Do the players come to their senses and sign a deal, or do they strike and risk everything they've built? Drop your prediction in the comments, because I genuinely don't know which way this goes. And make sure you're subscribed, because when this situation resolves, we're going to break down exactly what it means for the future of the league.